Well, he said he doesn't look like he's suffering, it looks like he's marching. I like that. I like that
Very
version.
friendly king.
And he's got a crown, not thorns, but a regular crown on it. So it's kind of interesting. Such a good
He's America,
Never heard of a leftover Jesus. They should have that. But they do. Then they have a
Good morning, and welcome to Channing Memorial Church, Unitarian Universalist. My name is David Fu. I use the pronouns he, him, and I am substituting as a worship associate this morning. Our beloved minister, Reverend Jane Smith, is unfortunately still out sick today, and one of our worship associates, Pam Eldenary, is stepping in for her, and we'll be joined by our music director, Stephen Dinan. I'm glad to see you all here this morning as we continue to try out this new worship space. Before we begin the service, I want to especially welcome any visitors. We hope that you will stay and get to know us as we gather downstairs after the service for refreshments and conversation. Since the COVID risk level in our area is low at this time, masks and distancing are optional, except while singing hymns when the masks are required. Let us now enter into sacred time, joining our voices in Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Let us enter into worship with the words of Reverend Joan Javier Duval. You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside, or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved, and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, of commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 359 in the Gray Hymnal, When We Are Gathered.
Please remain standing as Ken Calumet lights our chalice this morning with words of inspiration by Amy Carol Webb. We light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing. Humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time, we come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing we can ever know. That love is now and forever the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment. Please be seated.
It is now time for our story for all ages, and I invite you all to gather around as we read this book, Thank You, Amu, by Oge Mora. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What a delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had. With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, towards the street and around the block until, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. "Little boy," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell," the little boy replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." Stew," he sighed. "That sure sounds yummy." Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. "Would you like some?" The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall toward the street and around the block until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw a police officer. "Miss Police Officer," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell," Miss Police Officer replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Ah, stew," she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the officer said, and went on her way. And so for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until knock, knock, knock. Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time when she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell, Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ooh, stew, the vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon the sky darkened, the street lights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until knock, 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 knock. Who could that be, Amu wondered. When she opened the door, she saw a little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We are not here to ask. We are here to give. The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment. And together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. That dinner was the best she ever had. And the card says, thank you, Amu. Please remain seated for our prayer hymn.
In the silence that follows the spoken prayer, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joys or concerns you hold in your heart this morning. Spirit of love and life, we lift up in this moment on this morning love. A shy love, a courageous love, a brave love, an enduring love. A love that perseveres above all else, that permeates our very beings. No matter how despondent or melancholy, whether we are lost, wandering, or found, may love be our spark, our guide. When the world knows hate, violence, terror, may we know a love that unites us so we can overcome. When our lives slip through the cracks in our open palms, may we know a love that heals all pain, that mends all wounds. When we ask, where is this love? May we feel it on the delicate petals of a flower in bloom. May we hear it in the calls of the birds whispering love in our ears. May we feel it in our chests when thunder cracks open the night sky. May we see it in the eyes of a lover, of a child. May we see it reflected in our own mirrors, hear it reverberating from our own footsteps. May we too, in this moment, in each moment, know what we hold sacred. May that be towering redwoods, a deity in the sky, or an entity present in all that is. And may we know, no matter what we hold holy, no matter what we deem sacred, that we are not alone, that we are never alone, that we have a sacred, holy, unknowable companion in each of our days. May it be so, and amen. And now light a final candle for all that remains in our hearts and on our minds this morning.
Unitarian Universalist minister Erica A. Hewitt reminds us that our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. If you would like to contribute to our offering this morning, you may leave your contribution in the plate on the table in the foyer as you exit after the service. For those of you watching the service online, you may contribute to a virtual offering plate by using the Donate button on our website or by mailing a check to the church office. For all that you give and all that you do for our church community and its wider concerns, we give thanks. On the Brink by Leslie Takahashi. All that we have ever loved and all that has ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a greater generosity of spirit, a deeper joy in this life we share. An excerpt from The Thing Is, a poem by Ellen Bass. Love life, even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands. Then you hold life like a face between your palms, and you say, yes, I will take you, I will love you again. Please rise and body your spirit as we join our voices in hymn number 175 from the Gray Hymnal. We celebrate the joy of life. Please be seated.
A Jewish wisdom tale elaborates that there was once a young boy who anxiously divulged that he did not know how to love God. He inquired of the rabbi, "How can I love God if I have never seen God? I love my parents and I cherish my friends, but I do not know how to love God." The rabbi looked down at the fearful face and shared his wisdom. First, he instructed, find a stone. Try to love a stone. In this most basic and simple of things, observe and appreciate its goodness and beauty. Let this speak to you. Let it enter you. The rabbi continued, once you have done this, find a flower. Be present with the flower and let its beauty wash over you. See if you can let the goodness and life of the flower come into you and gift this to yourself. Stay present with that flower in the garden and love it. The young child smiled and nodded. Perhaps he understood, perhaps he did not. So that rabbi continued, next go and find your pet dog. Feel the love for your dog and let this speak to you. Then observe and find love for the sky and the mountains, the birds and the deer. Be present to the beauty and the love in these myriad forms. Listen to this and let it seep into you. The young boy nodded in rapt attention. Then the rabbi offered, love a person. Once you have loved a stone and a flower, your dog, the mountain, the sky, and a friend, you will be ready to love God. Once you have loved a stone, the sky, and a friend, you will be ready to love God. We use the word God here for the sacred because this is the word in the Jewish faith. But I invite you to connect to and name your sacred in whatever way rings true to you. These teachings are simple and yet profound and universal in many ways. As theists and agnostics and humanists alike, those who have faith in a deity and those whose sacred is solely found in the beauty of swaying trees, as all of these people find meaning, comfort, inspiration, and love in the rocks, trees, and scurrying ants. Reverend Jane then goes on to say, I think of the panentheists, theists who see God in all things and all things in God. Those who understand that each thing on earth is held within the sacred, a divine being, that God and all of creation are held together in sacred ways. Or the religious naturalists to whom nature is the ultimate sacred, to whom there is no divine being at all, whether transcendent or immanent. Those who see nature in all of its glory as the focus of faith and prayer and religious attention. Or those who are indigenous and see nature as a gift. Each wild raspberry, each humming bee, each cloud in the sky, and each blade of grass as an offering, a present from the mysterious beyond. Or the transcendentalists grounded in the goodness of both people and nature, who see the divine in the everyday, appreciating heaven here, in this realm, not beyond. This rabbi teaches us to love all things, just as do panentheists and transcendentalists alike. No matter what ills, hardships, or travesties befall us, there are two constants. There is nature and there is love, whether for the animate or the inanimate. And as such, there is the consistent presence of something sacred, something greater than all of humanity. Beauty surrounds us, and in noticing, we enter a sacred act of what I call prayer, says Reverend Jane. Connecting to what we hold within, to all of that which is beyond. We pray to pebbles, to dandelions, to the irises, simply by pausing in appreciation, by offering an intentional moment of gratitude, by allowing a space for the love and the wonder and the awe of nature to saturate us. No matter who you are, no matter how lonely you may be, there is a beauty and an essence calling you back over and over again, announcing that you have a place in all that is, all that was, and all that ever will be. I offer another story of Jewish descent. Before there was anything else, there was God, angels, and a chaotic mess of rock and water. The angels inquired, God, why don't you clean all this up? God collected rocks and stones, creating planets and stars and mountains. God collected the swirling waters, creating oceans and clouds and cascading waterfalls. The angels asked, is the world finished? In response, God continued, creating things that grew and creeped and crawled. Next, God created humans from stardust and lamented to these new creatures, I'm tired. Please finish what I have begun. But the people replied, we cannot do this alone. We are too little. too small, too insignificant. God encouraged that they were big enough and capable, and yet agreed to be their partner and help if they so needed. The people responded, "What is a partner?" And this response is taken directly from Rabbi Mark Gelman. A partner is someone you work with on a big thing that neither of you can do alone. If you have a partner, it means that you can never give up because your partner is depending on you. On the days you think I am not doing enough, and on the days I think you are not doing enough, even on those days we are still partners, and we must not stop trying to finish the world. That's the deal. So the humans and God agreed. The angels then asked of God again, "Is the world finished?" To which God replied, "I don't know. Ask my partners." This story tells us that we are constantly co-creating the world with all that is sacred and holy, engaging in blessed partnership with all that is greater than ourselves. Is this a deity or deities? Is this simply the grandeur and awe of nature? Each one of us cherishes and builds upon our own beliefs and theologies of all that is holy. Yet what is universal is this idea of something beyond us, something greater than each individual life, something that this story tells us we are called to partner with, to shape and form all that is. Something we can never give up on, and which will never give up on us. Something which helps us to do something we could never do on our own. I am reminded, says Reverend Jane, of the words of Leslie Takahashi that we heard earlier, a reflection of the yearnings to create peace, love, hope, generosity, and joy, all of which we would be hard-pressed to create and shape and mold on our own, and all of which are necessary for a fulfilled and nourished life. Can we co-create with the redwood forests, with our God of many names? We each have moments, big and small, of co-creation. I share with you a few of my own, writes Reverend Jane. I remember holding in embrace a cherished friend whose partner of many years had left her, listening to her laments and offering the gift of platonic loving touch. Her heart was broken, and in connecting with a greater love, a greater source of strength and wisdom, as well as with me, her dear friend, through co-creating, she healed from this pain of heartbreak that each one of us will have to endure. Or as a small child, pulling a green and purple annual out of its plastic shell to place it lovingly and excitedly in a budding garden, soon to blossom and create colorful harmony with the plants around it. In my innocence, I worked with the sacred blessings of nature to co-create even more beauty, awe, and wonder in this world. Or each of the prayers I offered as a chaplain at the bedsides of those in anguish, suffering from physical or emotional maladies. While we did not share the same sacred, we shared a belief in something greater. And through whatever this greater thing was, together those of us in the room and that which was beyond co-created healing. This story, too, speaks to me of justice. We live in an imperfect world, a world of systemic injustice, of oppressions of many forms, of a multitude of society ills and isms, a world that is not finished because it is not yet fully good. And it can be easy for some of us to fall into idleness or detachment, and yet we cannot. These are places where love is not, and yet these are the places where love heals, where we join together to co-create a better world. These are places where we create partners for those things far too substantial and immense to do on our own. Feats we can only accomplish if we partner as strangers and friends and faith communities with something greater than ourselves. We co-create beloved community. Is this not the core of our Unitarian Universalist faith? Why do I bring these two wisdom tales to you? That of loving God by loving a rock, flower, and friend alike. That of co-creating the world one act at a time with each other and with whatever it is we hold sacred. I do this because we will each fall out of love with life, some more often than others, immersed in the pain of heartbreak or grief, or a myriad of ailments of the heart, body, and mind. And yet we can enter back into loving covenant, back into the promise of love with all that is greater than ourselves, and we can heal. We can see love in each and everything that surrounds us, in rocks and clouds and dogs and friends, and in seeing love, engage with whatever it is we hold most sacred in our hearts. With this held tightly and firmly within, we are called to co-create, to heal from whatever ailment our bodies and minds are grappling with, or perhaps from that which society is struggling to work through. This greater thing mends and remedies ourselves and our beloveds if only we work alongside it. This is how we find the ability to love life over and over and over again. The world is not yet finished and never will be. We can look backwards at this unfinished life, or we can look forward. We need both in order to heal, to connect with love again and again. Looking backwards, we see all those places where ill deeds hold us in bondage, and we must offer the gift of forgiveness, for forgiveness is a gift. Forgiveness is fundamentally a relinquishment of pain. Sometimes it is an invitation to start anew. At other times, it is an opportunity to say farewell for the final time without malice, as we recognize the next best step. Often we are called to forgive others, and yet more often, I think, we are called to forgive ourselves, which can be even harder. In forgiving ourselves, we accept our own imperfections, shortcomings, and mistakes, and admit to others our misdeeds, honoring whatever our next best step may be. In moving forward, we are called to forgive. Looking forward, we are met with hope. Hope is a great paradox, for we can only hope when things are hopeless. Hope indeed is the impossible. And where does the impossible happen? Within the sacred, within universal love. That is where the unfeasible becomes a reality, where a broken heart becomes a stronger heart, where grief and death makes a relationship with a deceased beloved deeper and more sincere than it ever was in this realm, where a miserable concoction of hate and anger and fear becomes beloved community, where a broken past creates a beautiful future. That is when desperation and despondency are transformed into the impossible, when met with hope, again and again and again. Time. Forgiveness when we meet the past, and hope as we look ahead. And in this moment, in each moment, simple presence. We each need time to be with our beloveds and to be with all of that which is greater, with the sun or the stars or a deity of our own understanding. For love is expressed moment by moment, reconciling a broken past with a beautiful future. We cultivate a wordless companionship with all that is, was, and ever will be. We pray through simple presence and gratitude with and for the beauty that surrounds us, and in doing so connect with something grand. We observe the presence and beauty of a simple stone, the most basic of things, and through that inanimate mass find a connection with all we hold sacred. And we find love. And may we hold that love dearly, tightly, and eternally, for this is our companion, our partner on the rough and beautiful road ahead. This is when, as written by poet Ellen Bass, you hold life like a face between your palms. A plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes. And you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. With gratitude to Reverend Jane for these words, may it be so, and amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 1074 in the Teal hymnal, Turn the World Around.
We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the fire, living in the water. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living in the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Oh,
Go ready to cherish the rocks and the pebbles, letting the inanimate whisper words of love into your ears. Go knowing that all you hold sacred, all of that mystery and awe just beyond your grasp, will nonetheless clutch your hand through any hardship. Together with forgiveness and with hope, with the sacred and with the profane, may you find a way to love life over and over and over again. Go in peace.